Hey guys, I yesterday was trying to kind of show you how to distress the chalk paint. Today we're going to kind of go over wax a little bit, and you're actually catching me just at lots of pretty times in life, so I'm happy to dress up for y'all. Okay, this video will probably be a little crazy because I have toddlers right over there and no one here to help me, so it's going to be kind of crazy, but that's all right. I've got my notes of just questions that y'all have asked me. You are asking me some really good questions, I think. So I realize as I'm going to wax, you're not going to be able to see just up close, just to get the furniture in the shot, and again, not having an extra set of hands. But it's really, I think, more about paying attention to maybe how I'm doing something. Not that I'm an authority on this, I just am not really afraid to try it and kind of mess it up and start over. So I would encourage you, I've gotten a couple of comments saying, you know, that that they're not really pleased with durability or this or that. Just, you know, refer back to the video yesterday. I talked about especially keeping your cans of your chalk paint closed so that it doesn't thicken, and it's a little less, it's going to be a little less smooth. It's not going to dry kind of that shiny smooth like latex paint if you let it stay open, because it's designed to thicken. And then I would just also encourage you, paint 2 coats. I had a couple questions about bleed through. This piece did the same thing over here. You know, the original dark mahogany stain just kind of did that speckly bleed through. That's typically, I've found, indicative of water damage underneath the original stain, and it will kind of push that red through when you put especially a light color on top. So don't stop at 1 coat and think, well, it's bleeding through, it's not going to look good. Paint the 2 coats on, because I've not had any bleed through after 2. And you know, if it is, that just means it's a stubborn piece of furniture. That's going to be the exception and not the rule. So don't be discouraged by that. I've just painted enough furniture, and I'm not, again, an expert at all, but I've painted enough to know that you'll just have a piece every now and then, and it wouldn't matter if you covered it like with my old, what I used to use, the Kills stain blocker. You know, I would have to do 2 coats of Kills on a piece like that. That was going to kind of show through no matter what. So just be sure, phone ringing, not going to get it. You know, be sure that you are realizing that some furniture is going to be stubborn no matter what product you use on it. So you just kind of keep working until you get what you need to use. I would encourage you just put 2 or 3 coats of chalk paint on and don't worry about a primer. But if it's really being stubborn, then, you know, put a primer on and go back and do 1 coat of chalk paint. It's not going to hurt to kind of play around with it. Okay, let me see. What other questions? We are going to talk a little bit about lots of things while I'm doing this video, just because it's easy for me to talk to y'all rather than to type everything out. It feels a little more personal too. Hey Grayson, can you not make that noise? Thanks, buddy. Okay, one thing that I want to talk to you about on video, just because I feel like I can convey it better than just typing. Make sure that you know, and you can probably tell from pictures, chalk paint is designed to look like hand-painted furniture. It is not designed to look like a factory sprayed piece of furniture you would find in Rooms to Go, or, you know, and that's not to knock that store, but just any kind of mass furniture producer. It's not going to look just shiny, you know, like a shiny coat of red. Now it can shine after you buff it, but just understand that's the look you're going for, is a more worn look. Had a couple questions about distressing. You absolutely don't have to distress it. A few of my pieces, and I hope to show you on the post, are not distressed, and they look beautiful. They're just not distressed. Do they still, though, have the chalky or more matte finish? Absolutely. But that's okay, because I actually have always painted with a satin or a flat paint. I don't really love shiny furniture. Usually even seal with satin. It's just enough sheen for me to feel like it's, you know, durable and kind of shiny, but I like a more flat piece of painted furniture. I feel like it looks more authentic. But again, that's because I kind of view I feel like I'm rambling now, but I do view furniture painting as an art, and this paint to me is very artful. It's very artistic. So I love it. Can't say enough good things about it. I did cover yesterday just durability. I mean, this is as smooth as Ava's little baby bottom. It really is. I mean, it's totally smooth. Down here where I've sanded less, it's got more texture, but it's not bothersome. You know, it's just a little bit more, got a little bit more groove to it, a little bit more texture when I touch it. So it's just up to you. I mean, you know, just take a fine sanding block and just buff it. Don't, you know, scrub it hard. If you don't want to distress, but you want it smoother, just buff it. I mean, you know, and when I say that, here's a fine, you know, just circular, and don't stay in one place too long, and you'll be good, you know, and that's going to take a little texture off of it for you. Yesterday I did talk about baby wipes. You need to keep some baby wipes with you when you're working on furniture because it's wonderful. And just kind of hit things with it. They're just great. Love them. Toy Story baby wipes, also the best. Okay, so we're going to talk about wax right now. A lot of questions on dark wax, and that to me is really the only tricky part of using chalk paint and then sealing with a wax. I will say I have loved the way wax makes my furniture look. It looks so lustrous and professional, and it gives me a hand-worn, rubbed look that really nothing else has. I'm going to tell you in a minute just some of the products that I like. Now, I've been using the Hannet's Clear Wax. Love it. Can't say enough good things about it. I've been using the Fiddies and Sons, and I can put a link on there. Same thing, again, watch Miss Mustard Seed tutorial on wax. It's wonderful, and she gives you some links for these, so I'll try to include that too. I got 2 of these Italian wax brushes. Patty from Classic Wall Finishes, which is where I get all of my chalk paint, and that's bestfurniturepaint.com. Y'all have asked me that a lot. She's wonderful. Her and her sister, they're just great and very personable, wonderful customer service, and you know, they're kind of getting slammed with orders, and they just really try to get it out to us as fast as possible, so she's great. She sent me an extra wax brush so I could have one for my clear and one for my dark, which is great. If you're going to paint a lot of furniture, I suggest you do that. Okay, so we're just going to go over very quickly, and again, you're not going to be able to see up close, so I'm just I guess maybe pay attention to the movements. I just kind of swirl my brush in. I do not get a lot though, okay? Like, and then usually now, after I get my brush kind of covered, I take, you know, some off. That's going to be my biggest tip with you and using wax. It's not simple in the sense that it's different. It's totally different than sealing with poly or sealing with another kind of wax like a Minwax paste finishing wax. Love that stuff, by the way. It's very very accessible. You can get it at Lowe's and that kind of thing. This to me is more workable. It's, you know, softer. So I really enjoy using this. Now, I will tell you this. I ruined the top of my coffee table the first time I used this because I put too thick of a coat. That's my biggest tip for you guys. I mean, spread it as thin as it'll go. You don't need a lot. It should take you forever. I mean, dozens of pieces of furniture with this can, especially if, you know, if you're not talking about tons of tabletops. You know, now if you're doing that, then you're going to have to put a few coats on each piece, and of course you're going to use it quicker. But just make sure that you are spreading it very thinly. Again, you don't need but just a little bit. I'm sure you cannot see this, but you don't need very much on there. You can always add more. I tend to hold my brush down here. It just depends on what you prefer. We're going to just start over here. Hope you can kind of see. But I'm just going to press it down, and I'm really going to work the wax into the furniture. Okay, I tend also, see I'm already putting more on there, but I would rather do that than have a very thick coat of wax. Grayson, that's what I did on my coffee table, and not really understanding how the wax worked, I went on and... Okay. All right, so we are going to start with this dark wax after I have put on my clear. And actually, I had to leave for a minute, so I'm just gonna throw on just a tiny little bit more, just to kind of work it make that dark wax a little more workable. That's a huge tip. Tip number one, not much clear wax, very thin coats. Tip number two, put on your dark wax right after your clear. Work in sections. And here's just another little tip. I prefer to only have my dark wax on one little side. I don't want it totally covering my brush. So I usually will keep a baby wipe or something like that, and I'll kind of, dab some of that excess off if I, if I don't want it covering the entire brush. I am typically not, and y'all probably know this already, I don't really tend to love a ton of glaze or stain or nail wax on a piece of furniture. I like typically a clear coat, maybe a little highlighting with a wax, especially if it's a bright color. But I typically don't, big flat surface areas have lots of wax or lots of stain or glaze. So that's just a personal preference. So for me, I don't want the wax covering my brush. The more wax you put on, the more you have to pull off, because it will dry almost immediately, very quickly. So just have you a damp, smooth cloth. I don't know if anybody said this yet, but it's just like using stain to stain your paint or as a glaze. If you keep a damp cloth, that's going to wipe a little bit more off than if you just have a dry cloth. Now, if you get comfortable with it, you'll be fine with a dry cloth. I just barely dampen mine so that I have a little bit more control. But as you apply, just kind of lightly go at first. Don't just like totally ram it all over there. And see, just by doing that, which I know you can't see very well, but I just want you to pay attention to really, again, my movements and less about, less in what you can actually see. I know you can't see very far. But it's basically just making this a little more creamy. Okay, Gray. It's just making the paint a little creamier. It's not really darkening it that much. There's no big obvious lines. That's going to be what helps you get more just control with your wax. Using less and making sure that your clear wax is still tacky when you apply the dark.
Mommy, what are you doing?
I'm doing a video. I need you to come over here and get over here. You can just sit down. Can you be quiet?
Yeah.
Okay. So now I haven't, and you never want to apply the dark wax straight to your paint without it being on the on the clear wax first, because it will stain your paint. It's just like if I were to put a stain on top of it or even a glaze and not really have it a workable surface. So let's just kind of go over some grooves. So when I then work in my grooves, again, your wax is really, this brush is wonderful, and again, Miss Mustard Seed kind of goes over this when she does her waxing video. But it's really going to be great just to get into the grooves, excuse me, of your piece of furniture, and then you can really push that wax down in, and it really just richens the color and the just the look of your piece. It's really, really a beautiful finish. But you see, I'm just kind of wiping it in, but I'm spreading it because I'm barely putting any on my brush. But I'm really spreading it thin. And there you can see, I'll just kind of keep working it down, working it then into some grooves. Just, furniture painting, it's like anything artistic. You can always add more, always do more. Just start, slowly, and then, get used to it. I will tell you, if you really do not enjoy these soft waxes, try Minwax Paste Finishing Wax. It's really a great wax to get started with and to try. It's just really easily to work, to buff, dries really hard, kind of a really hard kind of candy coated finish. It's great. Candy coated. How do you like that, Minwax? Anyway, I think you'll really enjoy it. Okay, let's go on and do up here. By the way, most of this furniture piece has only got one coat of paint on it. This is the only part that has two. So once you get it spread really thin, and sometimes I will even kind of just feel it a little to be sure I'm covering the whole thing. Sorry, we're getting crazy with the toddlers on. Okay, so you want to just, again, add just a little bit of wax to your brush. I don't add much at all. And once you start, again, just start really slow and work in just one little area. I actually probably will not wax this whole piece of furniture, so I'm not going to do that. I may just darken these a little bit. So I'm just gonna work right in one small area, right after my clear wax is still wet, and you're gonna see that it's gonna wipe mostly off. Okay, now here's a good example. I just got some on the door. I don't wanna do that really. So I'm just gonna put some clear wax on, and then I'm gonna wipe, and it's totally gone. You see, that's not bad. It's just all in kind of testing it and figuring out what works for you. Again, I'm sure some people just douse their brush in dark wax and they love it. I don't like it that way, so that's not what I do. Grayson, I need you to not be too loud, okay? Thank you, sir. Okay, so working in grooves, just push it down in there. Just stipple it in like that, stipple, stipple, stipple. Now, it is gonna dry very quickly, so I would just be sure that I'm kind of doing something that I'm okay with. You know, if you really don't want it to be dark in one spot, you know, just don't put it there. It's totally fine. I'm thinking I'm gonna leave the cabinet doors maybe really soft white and then, you know, add some dark wax into these grooves just to kind of highlight the grooves. And actually, I like it in the grooves and I don't really want it on that smooth part, so I'm going to take some of it off. So see, it's really not that, it's not that bad. It's just in knowing kind of how it works and just the tips and tricks, just like we learned, you know, with latex paint. You know, there's certainly a reason I wrote a whole ebook on, you know, how to paint furniture. It's because you could just go on and on about the ways to use it and, you know, what you're comfortable with. Just like Miss Mustard Seed, I know, has said, I do encourage y'all just to try new things. Don't be afraid to try. I'm going to tell you this. It would be hard for me to use latex paint on a piece of furniture again. It's not to say I won't. I'm sure I will. But this paint was really designed for this purpose, and it's pretty cool to work with. I really love it. I hope I answered a lot of your questions. I'm going to cover more in my post. And then you'll get to see this piece of furniture hopefully very soon. It'll be going to Troy Antiques in the window space. So I'm excited about that, and I've got a million things to finish today to get that done. So anyway, thank y'all for watching.